All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 108, and today I need to drink. Got my orange juice. It makes me feel better. So, today, got an email from Modifius. If you're not familiar with Modifius, they're a company that makes a bunch of different TTRPGs. And they have a proprietary system called the 2D20 system. I actually have a couple of their TTRPGs. Of the first edition of Star Trek Adventures. I haven't ventured into second edition yet. I have Dune Adventures in the Imperium, and then Fallout, the role-playing game. And all of those use modified versions of the 2D20 system. Well, got an email from, again, I'm on their mailing list. I don't know anybody at Modifius. Got an email from them talking about a Kickstarter that's going to be going live, I think, relatively soon. I've forgotten the date already because numbers are hard. For a new TTRPG that is going to be set in the world of Heroes of Might and Magic. And that one threw me for a loop. So, to explain, if you are unfamiliar with Heroes of Might and Magic, Heroes of Might and Magic is actually a spin-off of the larger Might and Magic series. And the Might and Magic series was a set of first-person JRPGs that came out. I'm not sure if they're considered JRPGs. Anyway, first-person RPGs that came out in the mid-'80s. If you're familiar with, like, the original, like, Bard's Tale trilogy or Dragon Wars or any of those old school computer first-person TTRPGs, that's what Might and Magic was. And it went on for a while. I think officially there are 10 games, 9 of which are actually considered part of the Might and Magic series, and the 10th one is like a throwback because it came out 12 years after all the rest of them. But they did help kind of define the genre of computer RPGs. Well, in the 90s, they created a spin-off called Heroes of Might and Magic. And then instead of controlling a party of adventurers, you actually controlled a kingdom. And it was more of like a turn-based strategy 4X style game. If you're not familiar with 4X, I can't remember what the 4X's stand for, but things like Civilization, very similar to that. So Heroes of Might and Magic was born, and the first one was well received. The second one was super, super well received, and so is the third. And then from that point on, they started getting kind of middling reviews because the original company that was making them, I think, stopped making the games after 4 or maybe after 3. I can't remember which one. And the quality really kind of went downhill quickly. There are some people that really, really enjoyed 4 and 5. I don't know too many people that were super big fans of 6. But anyway, so Heroes of Might and Magic, you generally start off with a kingdom and a single hero that can hire some troops, and then you go around and basically clear out dungeons and conquer other kingdoms and stuff like that, trying to eventually kind of take over the world. And that's the whole point of the Heroes of Might and Magic games. And they're actually really fun. When you get into combat, you get into actual turn-based combat, at least for the early ones. Actual turn-based combat where your people start on the left side of the screen, the bad guys start on the right side of the screen, and then you move each one and attack. And It's actually a really cool game. I never really got into the Heroes series. I used to think it was a spin-off, but it might just have been a clone. But there's a game that I really, really got into called Lords of Magic that played very, very similarly. Like I said, the interface and everything is so similar that I've always thought, and I'm actually going to look it up before I say something completely wrong, but Lords of Magic. I'm going to see. Yeah, all it says is, who made it? It's made by Sierra Online, which is not the people that own that. But according to Wikipedia, the game was intended to combine elements of Heroes of Might and Magic 2 and Lords of the Realm 2. Anyway, it worked in a similar fashion to Heroes of Might and Magic. It wasn't exactly the same, but I really loved Lords of Magic. So anyway, this TTRPG. They're doing a Kickstarter. I will try to put a link to the Kickstarter in the description, just so you guys can check it out. But on the Kickstarter page, they actually have a link to a Drive-Thru RPG page where you can download the Quick Start rules. Which these particular Quick Start rules are literally that. They explain the very basics of the game. Basically how everything works, so you can look at a character sheet and understand what it is, and they have a single adventure in there, and that's it. There's no character creation rules. There's a decent bit of lore in it. But really the Quick Start, the only thing you can do with the Quick Start is play the included adventure. There's nothing else in there that would allow you to make your own stuff or even create your own character. You can only play the pre-generated characters in there. Which, again, for the purpose of a Quick Start, that's exactly what it needs to be. You need to have enough there so that people can get an idea of, hey, is this going to be fun? Without giving away so much as going to cut into your sales. And so, as a Quick Start, I think it's relatively effective at that. The game system itself is interesting, to say the least. So, the way that the 2d20 system works in general is you will have, in Heroes of Might and Magic, they call them traits and skills. I don't know if they call them different things in different games, because I'm not remembering. But effectively, if we translate it into like D&D terms, you have your attributes and you have your skills, effectively. And so whenever you decide to do something, you're going to combine the number of your attributes with the number of your skill, and that's going to give you your ST, which I can't remember what it stands for, but your difficulty class. And that's the number that you have to beat. However, in the 2d20 system, you roll 2d20, and each die that rolls that either matches or is under the ST counts as a success, and you need multiple successes to win. And the way that you figure out how hard something is how many successes it needs. And you can use a limited resource in Heroes of Might and Magic, they call it morale, to basically buy additional D20s to be able to get more successes. And the hardest, the most you can ever roll is 5d20, and the hardest difficulty that you can have is 5 successes. So theoretically, there is no impossible rolls. Like in D&D, you can have DCs of like 30 and above, and without expertise, it's actually not possible to roll that high. Or in like the Cypher system. The Cypher system, you can have CR 30 rolls, and you don't actually add anything to your die roll. So it's physically impossible for a D20 to roll a 30. In this one, technically, you don't have that. And the unique thing is when you roll a 1, that's your crit, in this, and that counts as 2 successes. So even if you're only rolling 2 dice, theoretically you could get up to 4 successes from only 2 dice. And in addition to that, again, your traits are effectively your attributes, your strength, dex, and that. They have, I think, 8 of them. And then your skills are your skills. But your skills can be basically 3 levels. Basic, like trained, and then super trained or something. Again, I can't remember the terminology. But basically what that does is any skills that you're effectively trained or super trained in, the number that you crit on gets higher. Like just a regular skill check, you crit on a 1. On one that's trained or whatever they called it, you get a crit on a 1 or a 2. And if you're super trained in it, or whatever they call it, you get a crit on a 1, a 2, or a 3. Which is a really fascinating way to deal with effectively a dice pool system that uses d20s. Dice pool systems in general will use d20s every so often for like accuracy rolls and stuff like that. But for the most part, dice pools generally use everything but the d20 because you don't want to be rolling a bunch of d20s to get stuff. You generally want to be rolling like d6s or d8s or something like that. So I do find it a little bit interesting that that's how the system works. The other thing that's unique about Heroes of Might and Magic, the TTRPG, again, Heroes of Might and Magic, the video game, you don't play a single party or a single character. You play a kingdom, and you have multiple armies that you kind of go around. And the good armies have a hero attached to them. When you don't have enough heroes, or you keep killing off your heroes, then you go around with parties that have no heroes, and they're just not as good. But it's not about controlling a single character or a single party. It's about controlling armies. And so Heroes of Might and Magic, the TTRPG, kind of approaches that in a unique way. Basically, there's multiple phases to each game. You have your like introduction phase thing. Again, they have names for all of these. I don't have it open on my computer right now, and I can't remember any of them. So I'm just going to describe what I remember, which is not much as far as the names are concerned. I can remember other things, I just can't remember proper nouns. So you have like the introduction phase where basically the GM tells you what's going to happen. And then you have a planning phase where you figure out, what armies you're taking with you and stuff like that. And then you can have an exploration phase where you're actually exploring and looking for stuff. And then there are 2 other phases. There's the adventure phase and the battle phase. And they're not what you think. The adventure phase is when each player has their own character, like a traditional TTRPG. And so they are a hero. So in the adventure phase, you actually have just the heroes go, and you have a very kind of traditional TTRPG experience. The battle phase is where, in addition to the heroes going into battle, you also have your various armies that go with them, which are made up of multiple units. And because of how the 2D20 system works, and it's one of the things that I've enjoyed about the 2D20 system since I looked through, Dune: Adventures in the Imperium. Because the very basics of the 2D20 system are effectively, you figure out what your dice pool is, like everything that is, every challenge that you have to face will eventually boil down to, you figure out how many dice you're going to use, you roll them, you count out the number of successes, and then you see how close that was to how many successes you need. And that's how you resolve everything in the game. And because of that, they were able to build a system that can use the same resolution mechanic for a lot of different situations. In Dune, you use the exact same mechanic for doing a social encounter that you use for having two armies fighting each other and having multiple different things. Like, you use the exact same thing, they just kind of define each part a little bit differently, so it all will eventually boil down to, okay, how many dice do I roll? And while it's that description of it sounds a little bit reductive, it works exceptionally well. It never feels like, oh, I'm getting shoehorned into doing this or this. No, every single time they describe a new way to use the exact same system, it makes perfect sense. And it seems, it feels like you have a lot of control and options in order to make the suggestions and do the things that you want to do, which is the most important thing in a TTRPG in general, is that the players feel like they have actual choice. So going back to Heroes of Might and Magic, the TTRPG, the battle phase is really fascinating, because basically the way they describe it is, when you get into a battle phase, the GM will go, okay, these are your strategic objectives. These are the things that you need to get done. And some of them need to be done very, very quickly, and some of them can take longer. And you have distances. There are certain objectives that, depending on the character you're using or the army unit you're using, you have to have them closer or further away. Not so much that you absolutely need a battle map, like something like 3rd or 4th edition of D&D or Pathfinder, where you really can't play it without a battle map. You can. I've run Theater of the Mind for 4th edition, but it's a pain in the ass. So this one is not quite as complex as, you need to have a battle map, but you do need to be able to kind of keep it track. Okay, how far away are these particular units from this objective and that? And so basically, you can decide to just have your hero go in and do something by themselves on the battlefield. You can have your hero go with part of their army to go do something, or you can just have your hero order some of its army to go do things, and you basically keep taking turns to find out how well you do. And it's a deceptively simplistic system, because again, it's all going to boil down to the idea of, well, how many dice do I get to roll and how many successes do I need to win? But the way that you get there is going to be unique and interesting every single time. And the results of them is going to be unique and interesting every single time. So I'm actually kind of interested in this. Again, I'm not a massive Heroes of Might and Magic fan. I like the idea of the games, but it's just not a game series that I played when I was a kid. And by the time I became aware of it, it had been like out of production for like 4 or 5 years at that point. So it's just, I have no nostalgia factor for it. I never really got into it. And games like Heroes of Might and Magic stopped being popular in the early 2010s. And I guess they kind of stopped being popular, in the late 2000s. Because, audiences were shifting away from, like, strategy games in general towards a more action-oriented format. So, yeah, like I said, I thought it was interesting. I can't remember when the Kickstarter starts, but I think it's going to be relatively soon here. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what it goes into. Like I said, I own Fallout the RPG, I own Dune Adventures in the Imperium, and I own a lot of Star Trek Adventures. I got a humble bundle with like most of the books in it. And all 3 systems are really cool and really interesting. And Modifius makes some really solid TTRPGs that, for me, most importantly, play nothing like Dungeons and Dragons. And again, that's not because I don't like Dungeons and Dragons. I love it. I've been playing it for well over a decade. I have thousands of hours of experience. I used to organize for stores and conventions and things like that. It's not that I don't like Dungeons and Dragons, but I've played a lot of it. I know the game well. So anytime I can find something that doesn't play like D&D, I like to look into it, and I enjoy messing around with it, and the Modiphius stuff. It's real good. So anyway, interested to hear from you guys. First of all, do I have Heroes of Might and Magic fans in the audience? Let me know in the comments down below. Specifically, do you have, first of all, a favorite Heroes game? Second of all, where do you feel Heroes of Might and Magic fell off? Are you like tried and true? Third is by far the best. Did you enjoy 4 or 5? Are you one of the rare people that actually enjoyed 6? Let me know in the comments down below. And then, obviously, what are you guys' thoughts on a Heroes of Might and Magic TTRPG? Also, comments. Anyway, it's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.